And I
Come on.
I'm good. I'm just typing this. I'm on live. I'm just putting a topic in the comments. Yes. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon to everyone out there. We see some of you guys have decided to join us today with Raw Combos with Felicia, and our special guest today will give another minute or so to let a few more viewers join in. Really want to thank you for taking the time out to join us for this necessary conversation. Da-da-da. You feeling all right?
I am. I'm feeling good.
Okay,
I'm
good,
happy to
good.
be here.
Okay. Give it another minute.
What a rainy outside.
It is, but it's okay.
It is.
It reminds you of a fresh start.
Absolutely.
Rain cleanses.
And rain can make you have a great nap.
That too. That too. Absolutely. Okay, we're on the Craig James Community Show today. We thank you for allowing us to have this platform. Shout out to Hallelujah 95.3 and the team as well.
There are some amazing people.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we're gonna have some good convo today. Transparent and honest, informing everyone about mental health. So
Yeah, I love mental health.
Yes. So let's go ahead and dive in. My name is Felicia Stanley. I am the voice, the sound of Raw Combos with Felicia. And today we have Dreana in the building. Hi, Dreana.
Hey, everyone. How you guys doing? How are you doing today?
All is well, all is all. Right? Right? Absolutely. Right? Yes, I know, right? Today we're going to be talking about breaking the silence, women, mental health, and the weight of the expectations. Mental health is one of those topics where a lot of us are uncomfortable having the conversation. A lot of us are uneducated about mental health. We think that it looks a certain way. We also don't have enough knowledge to even identify it or even to extend grace to those who suffer from mental health issues. We think it's something that can be controlled. So we feel like a person is choosing to act out or have a manic episode or to, just become another person unknown to themselves at the time. So it's a lot of stigma around mental health issues. There's a lot of stigma around women, the expectations of women who suffer from mental health issues as well. So we're going to have a conversation today about it. We want this platform to be a platform that allows for raw conversations, which are real and worthy, conversations that others don't have, conversations that are necessary, conversations that make you uncomfortable, but also conversations that enlighten you, help you grow, and also, you know, allow you to be a better person to yourself as well as those around you. So, Miss Drake Anna, yes, so you're doing well today. You know, as you know, the topic is mental health.
Right.
And women and the weight of the expectations when it
Yes.
comes to mental health and us women. Can we talk a little bit about just a woman in general?
Yeah,
Let's
we
start
can.
with that.
Let's get
Just
into it.
just being a woman on a day-to-day basis or a 24-hour
Yeah.
day of being a woman.
Yeah, I mean, being a woman you have challenges, my voice going, you have challenges and victory in each day. And we sometimes overstress. We're so extra sometimes about our kids, our spouse, our partner, our parents, our friends, but we don't take time out for ourselves. Like I read in the Forbes that 85% of women feel like they have to be superwoman. 85%.
That's insane.
Out of 100,
That's
like
insane.
85%.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
haven't you thought that you had to be superwoman in many cases?
Yeah.
And so have I. And I just thought that was so baffling. I was like, wow, so many women think they have to just make sure it all gets done, but they're not making sure they are good, which causes women like myself to suffer suicide ideation. Like want to commit suicide because I feel like I'm not doing enough as a woman. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not a good enough wife. I'm not a good enough daughter. Or good enough sister.
Yes.
And so it's like, oh my God, it's too much. It's too much pressure. I just don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
But then it's like, but we put that on ourselves.
And I'm glad you said that. We put that on ourselves because one of the things that I make sure I hold myself accountable for is self.
Yes.
What are you responsible for? You know, we give too much credit to others
We do.
for how we are, how we act, what we accept, what we tolerate, you know. And I think a lot of it goes back to self. We do self-hurt, you know, we disappoint ourselves. That goes back to self because we're choosing to have certain expectations out of others, or we even choose to ignore signs.
And we do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you see the red flags. Sometimes, like even with people getting ready to get married, you see the red flags. And then you still say, I think I can help change him or her. Right? But we're talking about women, so we're gonna say him.
Yeah.
And so for me, and so when you get to that point, it's like you marry a fantasy, but you're gonna end up divorcing reality. That person wasn't ready for change. And unless you're willing to sit through it and be like, okay, I'll wait as long as it takes, then you're good. But then through that, you create trauma for yourself because you were aligned with somebody who wasn't ready to be aligned with you. He just like to have fun. They like to have fun.
And also you yourself has chosen to say this person wants to change.
Yeah.
I tell you that you saw potential. And that's what you fell in love with. And so you felt like, hey, I can fix this person. I did it before. This seems familiar. So once again, that self-inflicted hurt and turmoil and disappointment and setbacks and everything. We always have to do those self-checks and reevaluate ourselves when it comes to that. Yes, we do when it comes to being a superwoman. That has been placed on us, you know, and I'm pretty sure those out there can relate how it has been placed on us. Not that we just signed up for the roles and responsibilities, but it has been placed on us to do everything, you know, to figure it out, to think for others, to you know, do for the kids, to think for the kids, and our mate. That has been placed on us, and we never gave anyone permission to put that on us. But because of the learned behavior, the generations of these things, we have taken on that role and responsibility, and sometimes at a fault where it's detrimental to our health, including our mental health, not just physically, but also our mental health. So let's dive into the weight of being that superwoman, the weight of being that go-to person in the family and amongst friends, the weight of even our kids
Oh yeah.
have put that on us, like we should have all the answers.
Right.
We should have everything figured out.
Mhm.
Even that. So it really is one of those things that has been placed upon us. Let's talk about what is mental health.
So for me, mental health is the mind being healthy.
Mhm.
And what that means is you know how to regulate your emotions, you know how to have resilience, you know how to cope with different skills, have coping skills for different situations. You understand who you truly are, your whole entire identity, and how other people can try to make you feel like you're something not, but you are the one that determines who you are in this society. No one else can do that. And once you own that you are enough, that you do matter, that you are worthy, and that you all that a bag of chips and Kool-Aid,
Yes.
Gatorade, all the good drinks.
Yes.
Like you everything you need to be in this moment as a woman, that's what I would define mental health to be. Like you are mentally healthy and that you're not bleeding on others because your water is contaminated. You
Right.
didn't take time to clean it out. And so you want to pour contaminated water into people that's halfway,
Yes.
empty and saying, pour into me. They're like, yeah,
Yes.
cool, but you're dirty.
Yes.
That's not mentally healthy.
Yes.
Mentally healthy is not being authentic.
That's true.
Because you got to be honest with people and yourselves. Like if I have a boundary, don't cross that boundary. But if you do, here are the consequences.
Mhm.
We got to be okay with saying no and be okay with losing people who can't honor where we are today.
Right.
You know, so mental health there for me, and always making sure that you are good first. Like society, think about it. It says you got to make sure your kids good, everybody good, your parents, your friends. But what's wrong with also making sure you're good first?
Mhm.
Because if you are good, then when you get ready to pour into other people, you're pouring
It's a
goodness
healthy
into.
pour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's
And
not
dosage.
traumatize
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Let's get ourselves together. So
Yeah.
it's like, and then you're faking it and lying to other people.
Mhm.
Like you're always okay. Like that's what happened with me. I was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I always wanted to make sure everybody else was good. I'm inspiring everybody, encouraging. You won't find somebody who would say that, who know me, would say I wasn't positive towards them in their life. Because that's what I want for other people,
Right.
because that's what I also want for myself. But what happened is you get empty. Like you have a mental capacity, let's just say you got 100, and by the end of the day, you at -1.
Mhm.
And if somebody come and say or do something that just push that button
Trigger you.
over,
Yes.
you will now be making a permanent decision off a temporary emotion.
Yeah.
And why? Because you didn't take care of you first. It's still
Right.
your fault. It's never really depending, like if somebody hurt you, abused, like that's different.
Yeah.
But certain things that happen to us is our fault because we allow people to treat us like that,
Mhm.
and we allow them to love us like that.
Yeah.
We don't want to be loved, hurt, broken, traumatized. Like I need you to show me respect. That's also love. Give me a boundary. Be clear. That's also love. But we're too busy trying to be everything to everybody else. Sometimes we as women don't want to disappoint anybody or let someone down or people think, oh, you're mean or you're rude, because we strive to be the best, especially some good old women, so.
And I think that's, once again, it goes back to the stigma.
Yeah.
It goes back to what they have placed upon us and what we have chosen to take on, the role and responsibility of being that super person to everyone around us. But how did you begin to even hear the word mental health, and what did it look like to you prior to becoming informed?
So when I was exposed to mental health, they made it such a negative situation or negative statement or negative words at the beginning. I grew up in church, so a lot of people say, just go pray about it. Tell Jesus about it, be all right. You got nothing else.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes.
Jesus and therapy. That's something I said on another podcast with a friend, and she put it on a t-shirt and a sweater and a cup. It's like Jesus and therapy works.
Yes.
It works absolutely amazing together. You got to find the right therapist, but it works.
Yes.
But they told me, oh, just pray about it. Or people would say, I heard people tell their children, don't tell nothing going on in my house.
Right.
We'll stay in the house, what's in the house, stay in the house, And those are moments where we don't realize we're creating a negative thought process about mental health. Or if somebody's taking meds, people will say, especially back in the day, oh, they crazy.
They crazy.
If they get in, they used to call it the crazy check.
Yeah.
And it was so negative.
And it's the whole disability.
Yeah.
They call it the crazy check. Like, yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
So now when I became informed, that's why I'm advocating for mental health, because I feel like there's other people out there like us that probably grew up in a similar way and do not understand that a lot of things happening in their lives is mentally connected.
Yes.
Because this is the thing, before I was really hipped onto mental health really well, I had 14 seizures in one day.
Ooh, my God.
One day, and they were not real seizures. They were pseudo seizures, which basically is like a mental type of thing, like a psychosomatic
Like a chemical
disorder.
imbalance.
It's
in the
more like
brain?
you're stressed. You're so stressed till your brain is like, I'm tired.
Spazzing out.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
And imagine 14 in one day, 12 the next day. And it was just like they couldn't find anything wrong with me.
Stress.
Stress. And stress almost took me out
The
of this world.
silent killer. Stress is the silent killer. That's the thing that you can't see necessarily. My sister and I was just talking about that last night. We were like, stress will take you out of here. It will have you at a stroke level, about to tap out and leave here. It could even affect your health where you're breaking out in hives.
Yes.
And you're going to the doctor or going to the allergy and asthma space, and they're doing tests. You're thinking you're allergic to something. It's your body reacting, your body going into protective mode, trying to save you, trying to warn you, trying to say, hey, slow down. Whatever it is, slow down, disconnect, from it. And I myself, grew up where mental health wasn't called mental health. In hindsight, I know that's
what it is,
the correct terminology. But growing up, I did not know what mental health was. I just knew about the crazy chick. I just knew about the person walking down the street in the summertime with the coat on and talking to themselves. It was just the word crazy. It was never elaborated on. It was never defined as anything, or even saying they can't help it. They made it feel as if each individual had a choice to be who they were, to act how they acted. And it was a scary thing. It was something we ran away from instead of trying to run towards to understand it, because we all have family members, loved ones, friends, even friends now that we probably grew up with that we see now suffer from mental health issues. And it's a sad situation. But the first time that you yourself were able to identify and say, hey, I'm suffering from mental health, what did that part look like as far as you accepting that word that was always tied to something negative? What did that feel like for you, and how did you go through the process of saying, hey, this is who I am, whether this is temporary or whether this is permanent? This is who I am.
So interesting enough, it took me trying to kill myself to really realize I need to get some help. Like, you're going a little too far.
Yeah.
And it was like, and that's how I felt. These are my feelings. So no disrespect for anybody else,
Right.
but it's just like, this is my third time trying my entire life. Now it's my fourth time. Like, girl, come on, get it together. Yeah. And then I had to start thinking about my kids. And I was like, God, you're just trying to tell me to do right? Okay. And so I called one of my good friends. Her name is Katrina. And she said, okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's read this book called Bondage Breaker. It's 12 chapters. And it helps you go through all the different aspects of your life and break all those things that's holding you back that you don't even realize. So we did that for 3 months. Every week we talked about each chapter, and she stayed committed helping me for 3 months. I had my mom and my aunt and my sister. I had to sit down and tell them, and my husband. And it was hard for him, I think, to accept it at first, because I'm seen as this like happy-go-lucky person. I'm always smiling. But that's why one of the first books I wrote was when I can't see myself. Because it's like everybody sees me, but they can't see me. And so therefore I can't see myself. Yeah. And it was just like, this is what happens if you don't make sure you pay attention to your friends. So when I finally accepted the fact with mental health, it was really the second time I tried to commit suicide in 2021. It was in June. And I just reached out to my insurance company and got a therapist. And I still go to therapy to this day. So I went 2 times a week then for 2 years, and now I'm like once a quarter. And it was the best decision I made. Like I didn't start praying and stuff like that, but I needed a physical person also to help me understand and unpack all of these different things that I was going through, that I've been through in my entire life and never really talked about.
Mhm.
So once you realize about the mental health, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what
Right.
people would say about me.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't want to tell nobody I try to commit suicide because they're gonna be like, you crazy,
Mhm.
or you just looking for attention. And it's like, that wasn't it. I really thought it was the end for me. I was really exhausted because,
Mhm.
so 60% of women feel like they have to have it all together. 60%. That's over half of the percentages of women thinking that, hey, I gotta have it all together. My career, my family, my friends, my, everything, my business, whatever it is, my job, I gotta have it all together. I gotta make sure I'm good.
Yeah.
And then social media sells us these lies. Let's be clear.
Fantasy.
You understand, like 10% of somebody's life sometimes. And it's like you gotta be a fit, mom, and you gotta make sure you spend so much time with your kids, and you gotta make sure they go to the best schools. And it's just like, but do we really?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in public school. I turned out pretty okay, I would think.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like they put so much pressure on the woman. We're not gonna go into it when you go split it up into race. The Black women have way more pressure,
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. Expectations.
Yeah,
high.
because like
Yeah.
if we get upset, you're the angry Black woman.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, I'm just upset.
Can't be expressive,
Or you got to these women take on 2 or 3 jobs just to take care of the family, because
Yeah.
a lot of the men sometimes are like that. Like, it's like, and it tries to like break down the family. And when the family starts to break down, what is the woman left to do?
Yeah.
Mentally, who's going to pour into her and have her back if everything's going different type of ways?
Mhm.
And then also you got kids to take care of, and you don't have enough money to meet the needs. Like that's a lot of pressure. And if you don't do it, or if you're tired and you go to sleep and you don't spend enough time with your kids, oh, you're not a good mother.
Yeah.
But I'm working 3 jobs to make sure they at least
Yeah.
eat. Like, it's just so many different pressures. Like, everybody put pressure on women. Like, we are not a species that needs to be taken care of too.
Mhm.
Like, I like the soft girl era, as the kids say.
Absolutely. It's unfamiliar,
It is.
because of how we started out and the pressure. And then we all can sit here and say we felt guilty because of what society has told us it's supposed to look like and feel like. It has made us feel guilty. But once you know and become more informed and educated on it, and you start living it a little bit, you begin to understand that no, everyone is their own individual self.
Yes.
You can't allow them to come in your home and dictate how you should run your home. You can't allow them to determine when you need a break, self-care, when you need to drop the kids off and take time for yourself. It's many roles that we play. And I think the more we become informed on what mental health looks like, what it is, how it's brought on, because a lot of people don't know that mental health can be genetic.
Yeah.
Genetically given to them, or it can be brought on by a traumatic experience. So just because someone has mental health issues, it doesn't mean they were born with it. It doesn't mean they weren't born with it, but it can also be brought on by traumatic experiences such as stress, someone getting raped, or someone losing it all, losing a job, losing their home and car and everything, or being in an abusive relationship, or losing a loved one. It's so many factors that play into how mental health can be brought on to a person. So what brought you to a safe place, and what safe place was created, if any, for you to say, okay, I'm gonna have this awareness about who I am and who I am not, just who I'm going to be all together, and say, okay, I'm gonna talk about this. I want people around me to understand who I am, why I may act the way I act, or why I may disappear from time to time, or going through it, my ups and downs. What brought you to a safe place to not be ashamed to share that part of you?
Yeah. So it was God.
Mhm.
Like, it was the fact that it was so heavy on me to not let anyone else do what I just did.
Yeah.
No one, I teach now, I do workshops and speaking, but I teach people, don't be like the old me.
Yeah.
Be better than the new me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the old me, and so now I think about the strong woman. I think about somebody who's like me. Like I almost was gone out of this world
Yeah.
because I felt like nobody checked on me, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I had people check on me, but it just felt like it wasn't enough checking. It wasn't enough pouring because I pour out so much. So if you're pouring out 90% of what you got, I only got 10% left. I need a little pouring into too.
Yeah, you need a refill.
Need a refill.
Yeah.
I need a refill, you
Yeah.
know. So it was God. He said at the end of the day, this wasn't all about you. I brought you out. Now it's time for you to go get everybody else out.
He used you as evidence.
Evidence and proof.
Yes.
Evidence and proof.
Absolutely.
Now, when I first started telling the story, I was crying all the time, like, because I couldn't believe I was going to do that. And my
Yeah.
kids, there was just so much guilt.
You
going
carried
on too.
that shame.
I
with you.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then next thing I know, when people started coming up to me saying, you know what, I felt the same way. You know what, I thank you for your story. I'm so happy you're here. And it started like, okay, cool. People really need to hear this. So I just put the flesh me aside and just let God show up through me every time I speak or every time I talk to somebody. Because if I'm the last person to tell you that you matter, at least you know.
You chose to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
authentic.
And that's a superpower.
Yeah.
You know, choosing to be vulnerable when we know there's others out here ready to judge us. You know, even if they can relate to it in private, they'll still choose to make it seem like such a bad thing or like this standalone thing for you. And I think we need more of that.
We need more transparency.
We
like
do.
you said.
Yeah, we need more honesty and transparency because everyone needs someone. There's nobody out here that can do everything alone. So we're all trying to make it happen. We're all trying to work with what we have. We're all trying to get rid of generational curses. We're all trying to unlearn things to relearn it the right way. We all out here just winging it, on a wing and a prayer. You know, that's the reality of it. If people will actually say that instead of pretending like everything is okay all the time. I know I've been told a few times in my life that I go through life as if nothing ever happens to me.
Cool.
So I had to sit with that thing. Like, so what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean to tell someone that you go through life pretending as if nothing ever
But it
happens
said
to you?
pretending. At first, I want to be positive.
Pretending. No, that's a part of it as well. But you know, the word pretending was used before. You pretend like nothing happens to you. And I had to sit with that. I'm like, how do I take that? Like, what is that backhanded compliment? Because when I look at it from my perspective, I look at it as a gift that I don't have to walk around looking like what I'm going through. Doesn't mean I'm exempt from anything, but I don't have to walk around looking like what I'm going through. That's a choice. That's a superpower. That's a gift. You know how much strength and courage it y'all, we got to do better. We have to do better. We have to stop judging people. Everyone goes through something. There's no one walking in perfection. No one should be judging someone for their walk through their problems that they choose to do. I trust God. That may be the difference. You know, I choose to trust God.
I think that
I talk to God about my problems. I don't talk to social media about my problems. That could be a determining factor as well. You will never know anything about me through social media.
Right.
You know, I'm a very private person, and those that know me know that I'm a very private person, but they also know I'm very realistic, I'm very transparent, and I'm very honest to those that are close to me. You know, I express myself, I talk about my experiences all the time, but there has to be a safe place for that. That's the key element. It will be more transparency and honesty if we all would create safe spaces for us to have that conversation where we don't feel like we're being judged, or we don't feel like as soon as we leave the room, they're going to go tell their group of friends, not to encourage the other person, but to down them, make them look bad. Oh, I thought they had it all together, or, you know, and to find out they don't.
I would just say, like, with that comment, if I was in that situation, I would have laughed. I was like, girl,
I was taking a break.
Yeah, the reason why, because this is the thing, and that's why it comes to the mental health aspect too, is the mind. The reason why sometimes we get taken aback, or some people may get offended or may feel hurt by certain comments, is because we think that, oh, why would you say that? Why wouldn't they say that?
Mhm.
Because if the words say we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, of course they coming for you.
Absolutely.
So it's like when somebody negative says something to you or towards you, I try, not all the time, because like a couple weeks ago I didn't have it all together. But when somebody, you have to, I've learned that when you laugh, you confuse the enemy because, oh, you tried to get me. No, and that's what you think. Glory be to God. And I keep it, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, the whole thing is the enemy wants access to you. So if
Right.
you get a little angry, if you get a little spirit of
That's
offense,
leeway to come in and penetrate whatever
Yes.
going on.
so we just got to understand, like, and I'm still trying. It's always take. It's probably going to take to the day we die, like to the end of your life, to learn how to just let things roll off your back.
Yeah.
I have a bishop, and he says all the time. He's like, I just let things roll off my back like what's that, water on the turtle back, something like that. And I was like, but why? Because I'm like, that ain't right. He said, because when you believe in what you read in the Word,
Yeah.
God, Proverbs 17:13 says, I'm paraphrasing, but if you return evil with good, evil will never leave your house. I'm not going to be mad at you because you did me wrong. Because I already know you terrified either in your mind, you're going through stuff tormented in your mind or in your house or in your family. Something is getting tormented of yours because you did me wrong. And I'm going to just be happy and sit with that. Not saying that I should be happy somebody being, getting tormented. But when you came up against me, I did nothing to you. I'm gonna let the Word fight my battle. I'm gonna let God fight my battle.
Right.
And then God's vengeance is better than our revenge. Well, there's so many instances in the Bible, and I've been studying really good lately. Not before, but I'm just being honest, right? Like I was like, it's time to get in this Word, girl, because you don't know it like you think you do.
Yeah.
But it's so many instances where people have came up against people, and when they didn't do nothing and took it to God, God blew their mind. They would have never thought.
Increase their faith.
Yes.
That's what happened.
You just gotta let it go.
And you have to take it to God. And that's what I choose to do. I choose to deal with my battles how I deal with my battles. I have my relationship with God. I'm heavily spiritually connected. I come from a spiritual family. God is my source. I will never downplay that. God will always continue to be my source. That's what I go to when I want to have intimate conversations. I'm going to go to God first, and God is always going to show me what I'm asking him to show me, but I have to trust it when he shows me. I have to act on it when he shows me. And that's what we all can take from each other, learning to just trust God. That's the number one source. When it comes to mental health and that mind, it's warfare. It's spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's not flesh. It's not the person you see in front of you. It's a spiritual thing that you're dealing with. So you have to fight it with the Word of God. You have to fight it with what you have learned, from family telling you about, okay, this is how you pray. This is how you go to God. Oh, you can't figure it out. Oh, you stressed. Don't worry about it. Go to God. Take that advice when it comes to that. But as you said, when it comes to mental health, you need God and therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Some things you don't just say, oh, I prayed about it. It is what it is. No, do all you can in the natural and allow God to work the supernatural. Meaning in the natural, use your resources, use your wisdom, use your discernment, use your knowledge that you have attained. Allow others to give you insight on situations, and then always keep God in the midst of it. And God will reveal itself to you every single time, even if it's not the way that you desire for it to be. God will always show up and show out on your behalf. And the safe spaces that we should create for each other. What do you think about that? How are safe spaces these days? With you being so open and transparent with mental health, do you feel like, okay, now you're in a place where you feel like you can talk about your mental health issues? Do you feel like when you do choose to be vulnerable in these spaces, is it embraced? Do you get encouragement from others, or are there still others in the room that look at you with the side or distance themselves from you? You know how it goes. Do they still do that? Like, what happened?
I've only had one person in the past 2 years when I said something about trying to commit suicide to tell me I'm crazy. Right? For trying to do that. I'm like, did you do that? But I wasn't upset because let me take that back. I was taken aback, like how you was, right? And I was like, why would this person say that? But then I had maybe 5 minutes later, I realized like that's understandable. Because you're not a part of this particular era of mental health is okay. Like talking about it's fine. So I'm not even gonna get mad at you because you're not fully educated on what I'm actually saying. So that I only have that once, but when I go speak at cheer gyms, dance gyms, different. I've done nonprofit, I've done the educator summit, so different things, and everybody comes in like, oh my gosh, I loved your story. I'm so glad you're here.
Mhm.
Or, oh my gosh, me too.
Mhm.
So that's what makes me keep going and being able to be vulnerable and share more and more and be more detailed in certain
Mhm.
things because it works. And
Mhm.
actually, my mama always told me if you impact just one person,
That's all that
that's
matters.
all that matters.
That's all.
And so to have done that with multiple over hundreds of people, even like the competition coming up, what is called Black Culture Cheer and Dance Mental Health Awareness Event.
Mhm.
It's thousands of people that be there.
Mhm.
And so many people come down afterwards. The cheer dads, and that's
Yes.
the dance
Yes.
dads. I'm like,
Yes.
that is talking to me.
Mhm.
And so they say, hey, I really appreciate that. My daughter was going through the same thing. Can you talk to her? Hey, I really appreciate that. My wife is going through the same thing. Can you talk to her? So the fact that my story will save lives and God will get the glory is all that matters. So now I don't care if you don't like me when I say it, but I'm still me and you can't do nothing about that. And plus,
Still do God's work.
yes, I'm
That's
doing
what it
God's
is.
work, and
Yeah.
my achievements speak for themselves. So I don't have to prove nothing to anyone
Yeah.
because yes, I was down, but that's why a lot of sometimes celebrities and famous people or people who have a lot of wealth, if they lose it, that's why they have mental health stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was
It's traumatic. That's the traumatic
Yes.
experience that we speak.
Yeah. So
It happens, and everybody is not mentally strong. We're not all on the same
Yeah.
level mentally. It's a process to
It's a-
getting there, and you have to be intentional about
You
that
do.
process, and you have to be consistent about it as well. But it happens.
Yeah.
We see success stories all the time, and it doesn't look a certain way always. That's the thing. You never know what someone beside you is going through or have went through, and it could be temporary mental health issues.
Yeah.
They're not always permanent. It could be something they're going through in that moment, and it took them to that place to where they need to seek God and seek healing and support. But I think, the more we get into the rooms, the more we have the conversations, the more we can have that safe space
Yeah.
to be able to share those stories and ways that other people cope. I think we will see it more on the uprise, even down in our kids.
Yeah.
Now is the time we should be talking to our kids about mental health issues,
Yes.
especially the genetics that runs in the family, and they can't even help it. They haven't even went through anything traumatic necessarily, but because it runs in the family, signs can be seen early on in our kids. So we need to have that conversation with our spouses, with our friends around us, so they can understand us as well and not always take things so personal. They can extend a little more grace to us in the situation.
So
ahead.
I want to come in there. Sometimes, too, I think people don't realize mental health or in some of them, most of the illnesses, I would think mental health illnesses are also connected generationally.
Mhm.
And when I say that, it's like if you ever remember like King Nebuchadnezzar and he thought he was all that. God's like, oh, I'm gonna show you, and he kind of went madman,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That today would be called schizophrenia.
Exactly.
So that's sometimes these things are very much spiritually connected
Yeah.
and generational connected
Mhm.
because we don't know what great grandpa did
Right.
that can cause certain things to enter our genetics, right? And then boom, you're starting to see certain things in your family. It just started 5 years ago. Every generation has it now, or
Mhm.
10 years of generations having that. But what happened before that? Like who
Right.
did what?
Right.
Because if we live in a spiritual world, the Bible has spiritual principles. And so the whole thing is if you do this, this happens. If you do this, this
Cause and
happens.
effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so not saying it's not fully because the genetics is generational to me. Like it's just it's always connected spiritually in the background. So if you get that spiritual health up, which is really mental health because it's the mind, because God said he wanted to give us a sound mind.
Yeah.
So if he said that's what we're supposed to have and we're following him,
then
we can attain it, and we got to identify something not right. Let me go ahead and get some help. And that help is therapy. And sometimes I took meds to get balance.
Because some is more severe than others. So medication is required.
Yes. And until you get to the point where you can handle and cope and be resilient with all those things, you may be on meds for a second. And it's not nothing wrong with you if that's the case. I don't take them now. but I did when I first tried to commit suicide. But I grew, and it's a process. And I try to let people know medication is not bad. Don't put a stigma behind it. I'm not saying you should take it for the rest of your life,
Mhm.
but if that's a tool to help
Yeah.
you become better mentally,
Yeah,
then start that out. You don't have to keep going.
make
every
it
day.
temporary. Know
Yeah.
that it's temporary.
Yeah.
It can be fixed. What are some resources for those who would like to seek support or even to get a diagnosis pertaining to mental health? If they say, okay, I think something is wrong, maybe not sure what it is, or I think something is wrong with my son or my daughter or even my spouse, but I don't know what it is, but I know it's something. Where do they start?
So they could start necessarily at their primary doctor.
Mm-hmm.
They could just say, hey, I think something's not right. Then the primary doctor do their initial evaluations.
Mhm.
If they think you need to be seen with a psychiatrist, psychologist, they'll send you there. You also can find a therapist through your insurance.
Mhm.
Most insurance pays for therapists, probably therapy sessions, maybe 12 therapy sessions, but at least you can start there. We have here Big Ben with the 211 Big Ben. You could call them, talk to them. You have the 988 crisis line that we, did in Florida, really going head on with making sure we have a line out there for the people who are in crisis. You also can call me, like I'm a mental health coach and I run a mental health consulting firm. So I'm always easy to reach. And then we have NAMI Florida. So you have NAMI Florida, NAMI National, and then I'm part of the board for NAMI Tallahassee.
Okay,
And and they have classes, they have workshops, they have meetings, they have all kind of resources that can help anybody who's going through anything, whether you're going to do family situations or family conversations, peer-to-peer, just those who have lived mental health experiences. You also have like veterans help. Even for anyone who's a veteran or a family member is a veteran, then you got the Department of VA right here in Tallahassee. They definitely provide therapy services. And so there are so many ways. You can also go to your church. If you want to start there, go see your pastor and just have a conversation there. Say something. And even if you don't feel comfortable doing that, say something to a friend. That you trust that can possibly give you guidance, or share something with somebody that had a mental health situation. And hey, I'm dealing with this. What you think I should do, or what you think? How should I handle this?
Right.
So I mentor a lot of young women. I love them. They're so vulnerable, like Coach Dree. And so creating a safe space for people to reach out and you're not judging them.
Right.
That should be the accountability of all women.
The community in general.
Yes, the community.
Yeah, in general. What do you do for self-care or winding down? I know for me, when I feel like I'm overwhelmed, stress level is up, I'm overstimulated, I like to go in isolation. Not isolation where I'm depressed. It's not that type of isolation. I like stillness. I like to have just a noise-free space. I love the water. I love music. I love to read. I journal a lot, because that's always a safe space. If you feel like you want to express yourself and you're about to explode, just go write it out. That's a start as well. But what are some of the things that you do to kind of wind down and come off your maybe manic episode, or you just out there, or you just not feeling like yourself, don't want to be bothered?
Yeah, so I do a few things, and they're mandatory. So I do a massage monthly, a facial. If I could get it in monthly, those are like like, hey. And now my friend, shout out to Daniel, she introduced me to a mobile massage therapist, and I had the best. Yes, it was Valentine's Day, so it was just so great. All I did was just get on the table, got the table, see you later.
Yeah,
it was an amazing experience. So I'm gonna keep that experience. I do mental health vacations, so it doesn't have to be like very expensive. Like November, I went to Panama City, and it's off season. Like you gotta find great deals. It's not far. The deals were great because it's off season. And the first day I was by myself, and it was so magnificent. It was very amazing. It was a lot of healing going through that process. It was a lot of exposure to who I am today and who I'm trying to be. And then I also like to laugh with friends. Get together.
Laughter is good for the soul.
Get the right people, and we're gonna laugh. And I go to Shell Point Beach. I like a beach. So any beach, anywhere is a beach, but Shell Point is closer
The
to
water
town.
is just so free
Yeah.
and liberating, just peaceful.
Just sit out there
Woo,
and just
yes,
listen. And it's
yes.
always quiet. You hear the
Yes.
water. You can hear
They
God clear
talk.
too.
The water is talking to you. Yes,
So
I love
nice.
it. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I love all of that. And I journal too.
Mhm.
I write things down to just get my feelings out. But if I I think that's mainly it because I just like massaging facials, mental health vacations, laughing with
Mhm.
family and friends
Mhm.
because that makes you feel better. And maybe going to a movie if it's a good movie I want to see, like just doing something for me.
Where it's about self. Yeah.
Yes.
Free distractions. And to add to it before we wind down today, what are some of the boundaries you put in place that protected your peace of mind? For those are out there who are listening, because we have some people that are more people pleasers. You know, they don't know how to say no. If they say no, they don't stand firm on they no. And you're dealing with those around you that don't respect boundaries as well. But you have to stand 10 toes down on those things. What are you doing? What are you doing to set those boundaries and to make sure they're in place to where you can keep a peace of mind?
So it's going to be an ongoing learning activity for everybody. I would say that because sometimes you don't think you have certain triggers and then you find out you do.
A new one.
Yeah, or you think you healed and you
Yeah.
find like you're not all the way healed. I'm like, I thought I was good. So what I do is when I experience, like if my peace is disturbed at any time, I take a self-evaluation.
There you go.
So I'm like, okay, why am I so mad?
Yeah.
Why am I angry? Why am I upset? Why am I so hurt about
Yeah.
whatever the situation could have been if that happened?
Yeah.
Then I sit back and say, well, you allowed that because you overdid something for somebody and
Already
you
extended
know
yourself.
you
Yeah.
already seen red flags
Yeah.
and you expected
Still
them.
did it.
Still
Yeah.
did it. And then it come back and you shouldn't be surprised, but you're surprised and hurt because you didn't love yourself enough
Yeah.
to make sure you take care of yourself.
It was a choice.
It was a choice.
It was a
So
choice.
I do that. I also I state them out loud. Like I make sure I recognize things that bother me and make me feel like unsettled.
Awareness.
I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. So
Yeah.
it's like now I tell people unless it's an emergency, don't call me after 8:30.
Good for
You know,
you.
actually my mom, my sister, my auntie, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or my husband and my kids. But everybody else outside of those little parameters, if it's not an emergency, don't call me after 8:30 because
Yeah.
I'm in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm winding down for the day and I'm gonna ready to start tomorrow.
Mhm.
And so it's certain things like that. And then if I don't want to go to any events or something like that, I now become okay with the no I have to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and then I don't have to provide an explanation. I can say no, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't get mad at me about that, especially if I'm a good person that supports you anyway.
And if you
So,
do, that's something they have to deal with. They have
Yeah.
to deal with being okay if someone says no. That's
Mhm.
personal.
Yeah.
there.
Now you gotta also just really check yourself, like I said, before you wreck yourself, or check yourself before you
Still
screw
say it's
yourself.
true.
Yeah, you know. And so it's also because if we're not careful, somebody can trigger us, or that person just being there can trigger us and make us make a permanent decision off a temporary emotion.
Absolutely.
So you have to, like you say, be self-aware of,
Mhm.
okay, if I go around this person,
Mhm.
get in the mindset, just don't
Right.
say that, be quiet.
Right.
If they say something, walk away.
The moment you begin to feel like you're triggered by
Yes.
this thing, you have to have some type of technique that you use in those moments.
Yeah. So I mean, boundary setting is not very hard. It's just the fact that you got to set them with people you really love,
Right.
and sometimes they're not going to respect that,
Mhm.
but they will respect you later on. Because don't call Felicia because she gonna walk away when the mess comes.
Exactly.
You know.
That's
So,
weeding it out, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
weeding it out for those ones that will respect it versus
Yeah.
the ones that won't
Absolutely.
respect it. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too,
Thank
girl.
you for being honest, open, transparent, to sharing your journey. It's a continuous thing.
Yeah.
There's no time frame on healing.
No.
You know, it's a forever thing. Like I tell everyone, it's a forever thing. And so I think you should continue to use your platform or any platform to spread awareness.
Yeah.
Use your testimony to let others know that you don't have to be ashamed of it. There's safe places for it. There's support for it. There's resources all around us. We just have to tap into it. You know, we have to get our faith up and say, God, I'm going to trust you. I don't understand it, but I'm gonna trust you
Yes.
in this situation. So thank you, Dreana.
You're welcome,
for
girl. Thank you
tuning
for
in
inviting me. It was good. I appreciate you.
Thank you guys for tuning in with Raw Convos with Felicia. We greatly appreciate it. Breaking the silence, women, mental health, and the weight of expectations. No more. Don't put them on us. We're not receiving any more expectations. But we thank you guys for tuning in today. And we will see you next time. Have a good day. Be blessed, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.